Well, sticks and stones, they might break my bones, and the enemy, it won't leave me alone. I'ma live my life happy and free. Sticks and stones, they may break my bones, but they'll never break me. Come on, devil, get inside my head. You won't change me 'cause I'm way too blessed. Send your warriors to do their best. You can't kill me 'cause I'm already dead. I said you can't kill me 'cause I'm already dead. Welcome back to Total Free Radio, the show that's all about raising the bar of knowledge, healing hurting people, and spiritual warfare. If you're on YouTube, Rumble, or Brighteon, hit that like, share, and subscribe button and share this program with others. Maybe leave a comment. Jump over to www.renalyn.com. Check out my new book series, Prepare for the End. Just click on a title and it'll take you straight to Amazon.com where you can get a paperback, an ebook, and you can leave a great review so others will know that you liked it. If you don't like it, drop me an email at askrenalyn@yahoo.com and let me know why. Book 6 will be out soon. Book 7 is in the late stages, so we'll get that out right after that. Just drop me an email too if you have a story to tell or a great job you'd like to share with me. All my characters need a job, and I love to get it right, and I love those inside knowledges, and that's hard to do without talking to someone who's in it. Now, today we are back with Dr. Ganne that we interviewed last week, and we're going to talk a little bit more about her circumstances and what she's gone through and how she's dealt with it. So, Dr. Ganne, welcome back to the Total Free radio station. And my first question to you this morning is again about the financial impact on you. You know, what was the impact of the divorce, and just what thoughts did you have in mind when you became aware that this divorce was imminent and you couldn't get out of it? What went through your mind?
So, my husband planned for the divorce 2 years or more, actually, maybe even longer, for a very long time. But I was caught guard almost till the end, you know. And he had informed me 3 months prior to the divorce that he was feeling depressed and he wanted to move back to India and we should sell our company. And at that point, that's when we just opened our third office and we were finally, starting to see the numbers that we wish after investing so much and borrowing so much against our practices. And even though I was in shock, I wanted him to feel better. I wanted him to be healthy. And I agreed to every single thing that he proposed. He said, we had all of our properties in a trust. And he said we should sell the company to the corporations. And he said temporarily transfer everything to his name so the corporations cannot buy the real estate. I believed him. I transferred everything to his name that I had. And 3 days later, he's told me that he was considering divorce. Hit me like a rock of, like a heavy rock. And I went into a panic mode, had counseling. We had 1.5 to 2 sessions of counseling. And during the third counseling session, he gave the divorce papers in the counselor's office. So he had every single thing planned, even before the counseling sessions, because when I looked at the people that he hired to do our accounting for the divorce purposes, it was 1 to 2 months before the actual filing of the date. So everything was organized extremely well. He was a very good administrator, and he wanted me to give him everything that I had, all the real estate and the whole trust, because he said, if I sell the company, the profits can be mine, and I'm an oral surgeon, I can make my own living, and he cannot do that.
So how did
I
you
didn't
go
agree to his
from
plan.
now he owns everything that you have earned and
Right,
built
right,
that was
correct.
yours to back to now you own things?
Right. So that was the battle. In the beginning, you're in shock. Here's a person that you absolutely love, and you feel as a betrayal. You're in so much of a shock, and you're trying to rationalize how someone who appears normal, who appears to be, the ideal person in society could have planned all this. Is this a brain tumor that's really speaking? Is this something that's happening? You really don't know. Is there someone else in the process? Is there a third party? I'm sure there is now, but at that time you just don't know the answers. And when I disagreed, and he filed a false injunction to get me out of my own house.
Mm,
So, I didn't even know that he filed. What is a false injunction? Sheriff shows up at my work and was telling me stuff, and I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Look at the cameras. There are multiple cameras in the house. Please look at them." And the cameras are all gone. He took them out and
mm,
blamed it on me. And overnight I was homeless, and I
mm,
had, because he controlled all the money and the money was in trust, I had maybe $5,000 in the bank account. That was whatever income I received from him. Because he controlled 90% of my income, he would give me, 5-10% of it every month. And we would live out of hotel rooms for the next 3 months while I fought the case. And, the judge literally threw it out, and without even hearing my part of it, because it was so blatantly obvious what he did. It was just filed to get me out of my house. And he segregated, and he mandated 1 week on, 1 week off with my daughter. And it was extremely difficult experience for my daughter and I, because we were just so closely entwined, from the time she woke up in the morning to getting all of her stuff ready for school, to dropping her off and picking her up, and getting her ready for the next day and doing homework. I was so intertwined, and to have sudden breakage and not be able to see your daughter, he wouldn't allow me to communicate with her, nor go visit her in schools. He made huge fusses about it, be in the parking lot in a threatening manner, he and his mother. I mean, and literally, you would see the lunches on her. It was one strawberry, one piece of bread. You would think you were in 1800s, and this was a young lady who was fed well by us, by me in the past. So it was very heartbreaking for me to see, how she suffered through that part of the time. But it's you're in a state of shock when
mhm.
there was a huge hole dug under your feet, and you're dealing with the business. You're dealing with being an oral surgeon and working every single day. That doesn't stop. You're dealing with missing your daughter that you're so close with. You're dealing with a divorce, a criminal charge that you're just shocked to be even part of. It's you're dealing with so many different aspects, and whatever he was communicating with all of his guy friends, some of them are other dentists in town, so it's a matter of reputation. People who knew me, they couldn't see any side of that, and they were all very, very supportive, which I appreciated. And the people who didn't, who believed him, had the tendency like to be him. So I didn't really want to give credulence or my energy to that sort of energies, or to those their opinions. So I only paid attention to how I felt, and had to refocus. See, when you are dealing with a challenge and a financial aspect, you have no choice but to become strong and strengthen.
Yeah.
This is not a part to be weak. You're crying 10 o'clock at night, but I didn't want anyone else to see my tears.
I love that. Let me take a quick break for our sponsors, and when I come back, I want to ask you about the effects of the smear campaign, because narcissists always do that, and about the humiliation factor, because I know it had to be there. So give me just 1 minute to acknowledge my sponsors, and I'm going to take a short time to do that today. All right, we got Simply Clean Foods. They do freeze dried food, and they have very stringent GMO. Excuse me, I'm very flustered right now. They have absolute zero GMO standards. They have a stringent quality control. They test for heavy metals. So when you get this food, it's some of the best on the market, unless you go to fresh to a farmer's market. And we're going to acknowledge Rena-thatinsurancechick.com. Go and contact me for an insurance quote, and we'll set an appointment and get you taken care of. Now go to www.renalyn.com, find the affiliates page, and click through to simplycleanfoods.net or to rena.insurancechick.com, or you can also go through and see the Grand Empress Tea Room in Kilgore, Texas. Just click through from my website, and there'll be a little bit that'll kick back to this program to help keep me on the air and help with publishing cost. Now, Dr. Ganne, back to you. Tell us about the internal impact on a wife and mother, a woman who has worked all of these years, who's had accomplishment after accomplishment. You're respected in your field, you're respected in your area. How does that feel to all of a sudden find yourself in a position you're flat broke, living in a hotel room, can't see your child, having to work and still carry all the balls while this pain is exploding in your chest? Tell us a little bit about that.
It's a very enlightening process, to say the least, because that's when you learn to find somehow your strength. You realize you are stronger than what you've seen. See, I've been told for the 9, 10 years, 10 plus years of my marriage by my ex-husband, I was a phenomenal neurosurgeon and nothing more. So those were extremely inspiring words for me. And I thank him for those words because they gave me courage that I am more capable than most people perceived it.
Did you feel, though,
That's
that
when
you had to earn your respect because that's the only thing you were acknowledged with?
I had to learn to respect myself.
Yes.
I once I respected my own self and learned to believe in myself, everything else came together. I had to regain my own composure because, see, any kind of an abusive relationship, the self dignity and confidence of any individual, it doesn't matter how many doctors they have,
Yes.
is taken away. It doesn't matter if their education level, social status, or anything of that nature. It's slowly degraded away, and you have to constantly, this is the time to rebuild it. And every single thing that you do for yourself, and every single day becomes a success. From the time you wake up in the morning and to the time you go to sleep, you have survived that day. So you have to use that as to focus and say, I am a survivor, I am capable, I am able to take care of my responsibilities to the best that I can, and still somehow try to keep a smile,
Yes.
and get through my time in society. So and if you can learn to gain the respect yourself, I didn't put so much emphasis on other people because I stopped hanging out in social circles that I would normally have with my ex-husband, because it was very painful for me to experience when they asked how he was doing, you know,
Yes.
and because I was still in so much in love with my ex-husband, and to see the betrayal, I didn't really know what was happening in my own life, and I was trying to adjust to the truth. I was learning the truth as I went. It's a very difficult situation when you're in love with the other person, but there is so much abuse that you have ignored for so long, and when it finally blossoms, you're in a state of shock, and you're juggling the nine balls of multiple different caveats of your life. It's not an easy process, and the way I saw it, many women have it very difficult. Some of them are going through domestic violence, physical abuse, and I have seen young kids out of high school having children, and going through similar experiences and even worse, and they're doing it without support, financial support, education, while they're working two jobs and going to school. It's a huge challenge for them to be able to do that. So, in fact, if anything, they were my inspiration.
I
You know,
like that. And would you say that you were truly in love with the man that he actually is, or were you in love with the man that he projected himself to be at the beginning of the marriage and the courtship? And I know for many women, it's a very difficult concept to go to understanding he's not who I thought he was.
right.
What's the impact
So,
of you on where you went from Okay, now you built all this income, you don't owe anything. How did you get back to where you're now in charge of everything and you've built that value in your own eyes that was eroded in from his eyes?
So the truth is, I never really valued myself based on my earnings or anything of that nature. I really valued myself based on how I take care of my patients.
Well, and I didn't
And
mean to
as
link your value to your income. I was asking, I
right,
guess, 2 different elements. You're back
right,
now in charge of your life, in charge of your income,
right,
but I know that part of what narcissists do is they devalue you as a human person, and because we
right.
are who we are, we tend to put the value on the other person and not on ourselves. So how
Yeah,
did you regain that where you value
absolutely.
yourself?
So that's a great question. Now that I remember, it truly, the whole time I would attribute all of my success and for my businesses to my ex-husband because I wanted to elevate his ego. I
Mm.
attributed all of my hard work and said, the reason I am successful today is because of him. I would give him the value. So now I was able to take that back to me. There was a part of my time, I had $5 in my checking account after I paid my bills. But those were also the most grateful moments where I was able to say, thank you so much for giving me the privilege of taking care of my responsibilities.
Yes,
So I had to relearn to look at things. I was always a very positive person. But how to refocus and re-energize and reinform myself of my own capacity. I had to believe that I was capable, that I am capable. And it's a very extremely empowering statement and experience to have gone through something like this. And when you feel empowered, there's nothing that stops a woman from accomplishing what she wants to
I
do.
agree. I love that. Let me ask you something. He had set up for 2 years, manipulated all circumstances, was in charge of everything, owned everything, had an injunction against you, put you out in the street, and said, "I want you to do this." How did he take it when you didn't agree and you fought back?
He was shocked because for all through our marriage, I pretty much did whatever he wanted us to do because he attributed it to the control aspect to respect. He said a man needs to be respected, and if I am arguing or if I had any different opinion, he's like, "You're not showing me respect." So it silenced me because that's the only way to keep peace at home. So,
Understood.
and I always wanted peace. And I tended to focus on being a mom and wife and cooking and cleaning and gardening, other things that would distract me. So, it was very difficult for him. He didn't, he took my love and respect for him as a husband as a sign of weakness because he
Yes.
thought I was not capable. He didn't know that I went through a extremely difficult surgical training. Oral surgery training for women is not very easy. There are not many women in the field. It's you work 100 and sometimes 120, 130 hours when we before the 80-hour rules that came through. You work extremely hard. It takes a very strong person to get through a training of that nature. And he didn't recognize the capability in me, that I was capable of taking care of things. I just chose to give him the power. I empowered him with my finances and with with everything that we have accumulated. I made it his. He was driving a very fancy Ferrari. I had my Toyota Highlander. That kind of a relationship we have had, and it's just regaining and knowing it is okay for me to enjoy nicer things. I didn't really spend money on me at all. And he would tell me, you don't need to impress me. You don't need to spend money on yourself. But he would be buying all the fancy stuff. So, how to switch that and say it's okay to go and enjoy something nice? We traveled a lot. That's one thing that we did and that I absolutely loved doing. But to just refocus the energy back to myself and know that it is okay, you know? It is okay to take care of myself in the ways I would want my daughter to take care of herself if she were ever to be in my circumstance.
It's common for narcissists
Yeah.
uh, attach themselves to someone who has everything that they do not, and it's a black and white concept because they
Yes.
compare themselves after a time to you, and they know that you have what they do not. So they'll begin to,
It's a
I call it
jealousy.
flipping the script. Yes, it's a
Yeah.
jealousy, and they'll start a smear
Yes.
campaign where they
Hmm.
gradually take on your accomplishments as their own, and they
Right.
give you who they are. And then when they've laid enough of their black on you, you're too black to be around them. Now they got to escape and find someone else. You were talking about
Correct.
putting the value on yourself. One of the things in my own healing period is I wrote a song called The Music of My Life. I'm not going to sing it all, but the last tag of it is, why dance to a tune penned by someone else? The music of your life should be written by yourself. And I was like
Correct.
you, it's the hardest time because we're taught in whatever culture, women are taught to respect our husband, to um, maybe stroke their ego a little bit. And in a true
Right.
marriage, this goes on back and forth. But we
Hmm.
give up more and more of ourselves to please them while they're doing more and more devaluation, and we end up losing ourselves. So I love the fact that
So
you've learned to regain yourself.
absolutely, like I've said in the previous episode, a man always learns to see. A man always loves whoever the woman loves.
Yes.
So if a woman loves the husband more than herself, then the man will choose to love himself more. If a
Agreed.
woman learns to love herself more and dress in a nice way and take care of herself, he will learn to love her. you know so if that's the case, then women need to take the leadership and maybe perhaps guide, instead of putting all the responsibility on their husbands. They need to learn to take care of themselves and take the burden off of their men. And if they can take care of themselves fully, then maybe he will learn to see what she is seeing. If not, then at least she's taking care of herself.
Yes, and it's not always it's sometimes it's the other way around. There's a lot of female narcissists too. But one of the things that is
Right.
common as well is something else you touched on is they'll dress nice, they'll have the expensive cars or whatever, and they'll tell you you don't need it. And what they're
Right.
doing is when you're in front of other people, they're seeing this polished person here and this person here that doesn't take care of themselves, and you're
Absolutely.
just trying to please them, and I had to rein into that. One of the things that I found too is children get their concept of the other parent from the other parent. So I
Hmm.
gave him a lot of respect, a lot of attention, a lot of that undergirding, as you will, but it wasn't returned. So my children saw things a little bit lopsided. How has your daughter handled all this?
So before the divorce process, my daughter used to kind of, she was not as affectionate, even though I did so much for her. She saw me through her father's eyes, just like you
Yes.
said.
Yes.
She would come to me and said, "Oh, your belly is big because your mom fed you."
Ooh,
It's she would make comments of that nature because it really reflecting my husband's comments. And so, and after the divorce, I mean, actually, it's one of those, the body releases, all of the emotions. I immediately started losing weight the day he mentioned he want, he filed for divorce actually, and until then my weight would not budge. So I lost 70 pounds after, or 50, 60 plus pounds after, which was very relieving for me. But my daughter recognized what she lost. That 1 week on, 1 week off that my husband created was a big blessing in disguise, because she recognized what mommy does for her, from packing these amazing lunches to taking care of her, nurturing her. When she was with my ex-husband, there was a nanny that took care of her. Majority 80-70% of the time, he barely spent any time because he was trying to heal himself or find himself. And so she really, she never, before I would have to fight to get one kiss from her, and after the divorce process started, she would not let go of me. She became extremely possessive of me. And the kisses that she would give would be endless. So we bonded in such a deep way. And so many times we would, instead of crying, we would just laugh. We would be driving in a car, and we would, she would ask me certain questions. I think we went and saw the movie Barbie at one point, and at the end of the movie, she looked at me and said, Daddy's like Ken. You know? So, and I didn't know how to reflect, she just knew a lot more than there's no way for me to hide anything because she was also homeless with me, at that one point. So,
Well, and narcissists
you know,
tend to use the children as a tool against the other
yeah,
parent. And I experienced
absolutely.
that, and even to the point sometimes they call it covert incest or emotional incest, where they will put
Yeah,
like you have a
yeah,
daughter, he would put her on a pedestal against you and
he
play her
did.
against you like two women.
Absolutely, he did. He would, when she was 2, 3 years old, she was beautiful. She was like size 1 or 2, little girl, very healthy and normal. And she would say, "This is how women should be." Just so perfect in their looks and just so perfectly sized. And I thought it was awkward to ever see your little girl, and or if she was gaining 5 pounds as a 4-year-old, he's like, you shouldn't be gaining weight. You should be eating less. And that's the last thing I want my little
Yeah, to be
daughter at that
unhealthy.
point to hear. So, she was very healthy. She always fit into her size clothing for that age group. It's just the way he projected his view of how women should be was reflected on to the daughter instead of reflect it was passive aggressive,
Well,
you
it
know
was, and also narcissists they need a beautiful woman, the beautiful car, all of that because it's a beautiful accessory to make them
right,
more. Now, Dr. Ganne, we have
correct.
1 minute left, so I want to thank you for coming on the Total Freedom Show and sharing your experience, and I'll let you take this minute.
If there is anything that I can impart to uh, the fellow women or men that may have undergone this kind of circumstances is stay strong, focus on yourself, building yourself up, and empower yourself both spiritually, emotionally, as well as, if you need to do a change in your career or education, this is the time. Every experience, as painful as it is, pain is a phenomenal growth stimulant.
Yes.
So
It's
use that to empower yourself and become better. So you may set yourself an example for your future self. So you can look back and be extremely proud of everything you have accomplished and hopefully make a difference in everyone that you come in contact with,
Dr. Kanay, I
and
wish you all the best, and I'm just so excited to tell your story. And stay with me on offline. I wanted to ask you something. See you later.
okay, thank you. See you later.